When you give mother-in-law an inch, she takes the whole wedding. Mother-in-law claimed it's my son's wedding and altered my plans. I changed a venue and left her the bill of her vision. I feel so stupid right now. Mother-in-law issues. And no, not in the way you might think. Eric, a 32-year-old male, and I, a 33-year-old female, have been together for 6 years. And in just 2 weeks, we're getting married. It should be a happy time. Instead, I'm dealing with a mother-in-law situation that I stupidly invited into my life. So, Eric comes from a broken home. His relationship with his mother, Martha, was ruined when he caught her cheating on his father. He was barely 8 or 9. Before you start guessing what he saw, let me clarify. He came home early from this friend's place and found his father's friend sneaking out of his parents' bedroom. He was traumatized and informed his father. It led to chaos and his parents got separated. During the custody battle, Eric chose to live with his father and Martha obliged. But she got custody of his 3-year-old sister. Eric was deeply hurt to be separated from his sister. She was very dear to him, but he had to accept it as his father couldn't take care of both of them, and his sister was not capable of living without Martha. And Eric was not willing to stay with Martha. Eric never forgave her. He saw her as the reason his family broke apart. Martha tried over the years to mend things, but he wanted nothing to do with her. She never accepted that she had cheated on her husband. Her explanation was that his friend came over to talk about something, and when he saw Eric, he panicked that Eric would take it differently and hence snuck out. Unfortunately, Eric saw that and misunderstood everything. Well, I'm no one to judge here. I don't know what the truth is, but Martha never got remarried. She claimed to never even date anyone after her divorce and remained single, raising her daughter, who grew up hating Eric for planting suspicions in their father's mind and separating them. Eric's father is also not a saint. A few years after his divorce, he got remarried, had 3 children, and got busy raising them while neglecting Eric emotionally. Eric moved out as soon as he could and kept the conversation transactional until he graduated and got on his feet. They didn't even talk after his graduation day. So yeah, both his parents have done a stellar job at making their son feel unwanted in different ways. Though Eric remained distant from Martha, she somehow kept a tab on his life. When we got engaged, she reached out to me, begging me to help her reconcile with him. She portrayed herself to be the mother whose son has misunderstood and abandoned her. But she was ready to take bullets for him. Guess what? I fell for it. I didn't convince or manipulate Eric into accepting her, but he himself has mellowed down over the years. He was a different person when we first met. I'm a student of psychology, and I believe everyone should take therapy, whether or not they think they have issues. I introduced him to this world of meditation, yoga, and we both take regular therapy just like we take regular blood tests. I think that helped him a lot in shaping the kind of individual he became. He's kind and compassionate without an ounce of aggression. His therapy helped him process a lot. He started seeing his parents for who they were, flawed humans who made mistakes. So when I brought up that he should give one chance to his mother, he agreed. I arranged for their meeting and helped them correct and close the gap of 24 years. Martha was beyond grateful, thanked me profusely. When we started planning for the wedding, Eric said he would invite both his parents. His father said it up front that he wouldn't be able to make it. Eric didn't take it personally. He was upset, but realized he wasn't his father's priority. Seeing his father's attitude, I want to believe that Martha cheated on him because he was an emotionally unavailable spouse. I mean, he was neglecting the son who helped him discover his wife's cheating, who kind of saved his life. Anyway, when Eric invited Martha, she cried and hugged him, saying that this was the best moment of her life, and she has been waiting for it for decades. A happy ending, right? Yeah, I thought so too. Then she asked if she could help with the wedding planning. She was so sweet and eager, and I figured, why not? Big freaking mistake. At first, it was small things, tiny suggestions, little tweaks. You see, a wedding in your 30s is not the same as in your 20s. You have a demanding job and basically less energy to fuss about the wedding. So I let it slide, thinking she's taking it off my load, and paying attention to details. Then, suddenly, she wasn't suggesting, she was deciding. She didn't like the flowers I picked, so she found a new vendor. She somehow convinced me that the color palette wouldn't suit the background. I admit, I wasn't so particular about my choice, but still, she should check with me before making the changes. Then came the seating chart. She made adjustments because she thought certain people should sit together for better energy. Every single thing I had planned, she touched, changed, or improved. It actually bothered me when she commented that my wedding dress was a little too modern. And then the next day bought me another one, which she called a timeless alternative. I told her up front she was crossing the boundary, and I was going to wear what I wanted and not what she thinks is appropriate. She immediately started apologizing, sobbing that she didn't mean to hurt me and that I was precious to her. She got so sorry about it that I started feeling sorry for being rude. There are a couple of more instances that happened, like altering the food menu and adding a dessert. Now, whenever I push back, she immediately folds into this apologetic, weepy mess. Didn't mean to upset you. Just want to take off some load. And just like that, I'm struggling to have my wedding back. I regret letting her in. I regret giving her an inch because she took the whole dang thing. But what do I do now? If I lay down the law, I risk undoing all the progress Eric made with her. I don't want to ruin it. He's disheartened with his father's coldness. At least he should have a mother who genuinely loves him. Doesn't matter if she's desperate and weird. But if I let her keep going, I'll walk into a wedding that feels like it's hers and not mine. I don't know how to deal with this kind of passive-aggressive mother-in-law. The kind who isn't outright toxic, but a sugar-coated smiling witch who does everything with a good intention. And I have 2 weeks to figure it out. Any advice? Oh boy. You thought you were getting a reformed, long-lost mother-in-law who just wanted a second chance. But what you actually got was a master manipulator who learned that crocodile tears are more effective than outright demands. The woman played the long game. She waited 24 years for a chance to swoop in. And now that she's got it. Update 1. It turns out that Martha wasn't exactly how she was pretending to be. She's not the sweet and timid woman who was doing everything to win her son back. Instead, she's a controlling witch who wants to have her grip in our lives. She had been playing the long game, and I have been naive enough to let her in. As the wedding day came closer, she got on my nerves. The last straw was when she increased the guest list without even asking us. She invited her friends and relatives on our behalf and ballooned the guest count to 35. We wanted to have an intimate wedding with less than 10 people, just close friends and parents. She didn't even inform me about this. I only got to know this from the wedding planner. I immediately confronted her, and she was like, "It doesn't matter. The extra 20 people are on me." I was livid. It wasn't only about the money. It's about privacy. It was about our wishes being respected. I firmly told her, "We don't want an unnecessary crowd at our wedding." She tried to manipulate me, saying, "I want to witness my son's big day with my close people. It was my dream to see my son getting married. It's a huge deal for me." Apparently, Eric's sister identifies as non-binary and has made it clear that marriage is not for her. So Martha's all hopes fell on Eric. I wanted to remind her that she should thank her stars for getting the invite in the first place, as her son was not keen on having her. But I controlled myself and said that it was our wedding and we got to decide what we wanted. To this, she had the audacity to reply, "It's my son's wedding too." I stared at her in disbelief. Really? A few weeks back, she was begging me to help her reconcile with her son. And when I helped her mend the fence, she became a different person. And I know the reason why. A week before all this, Eric had bought her flowers for Mother's Day. The first time he had ever done something like that. She was over the moon, wept, and convinced that this was her moment. She thought now that her son had started loving her and was letting her into his life, she could trample all over me. She thought she had her son back. I didn't argue with her further and went to Eric and spilled the beans. He didn't hesitate. Called her immediately and told her to uninvite everyone. She folded to him in an instant, playing the innocent act. Sure, honey, right away. I didn't realize I was overstepping the boundary. And oh, if it meant so much to you, I'll uninvite everyone. The subtle jab made it clear that she was just painting me as a mean daughter-in-law who cannot stand her mother-in-law. She was still not done yet. She started bothering the wedding planners, asking them to make subtle changes to our wedding decor. I had already given strict instructions that only I made the final decisions, but her constant nagging annoyed them. Then, just 4 days before the wedding, she fired them. The manager reached out to me saying Martha walked down to their office to suggest some changes to the plan. When they didn't cooperate and insisted on taking instruction from me, she picked a fight with them for informing me about the change in the guest list, called them names as if they were her slaves. She fired them. She fought with them so badly that they gave her back the check that I paid as an advance. I panicked badly. I mean, how would I manage everything last minute? Before I could confront her, she called me. I asked her what the hell she did. She pacified me, saying she has got the advance back and has hired another planner who are much more professional and skilled than the previous ones. And she'll make sure that the wedding would be of my dreams. I gritted my teeth and hung up. I was so frustrated that I even wanted to cancel the wedding altogether, or maybe just get married in a city hall. I was at work when these things happened. I called up Eric and vented out. He suggested we rehire the agency, and he would speak to Martha to stay out of it and attend the wedding just like any other guest would. In the evening, he picked me up and we went to the planner's office. They didn't have any kind words to describe Martha's behavior. Eric apologized on her behalf, but the guys were not ready to work with us again because of that witch. Then, I dropped the surprise. I changed the venue. So my best friend inherited a beautiful house from her grandparents, which has a stunning patio overlooking a garden. It's serene and breathtaking. I asked her if we could use it for the wedding, and she happily agreed. We went ahead with my original plans of decor and food, and discarded all the changes that Martha had suggested. Meanwhile, I let her plan the wedding of her dreams. She was happy to do it, thinking it would earn her points with Eric. I sent out last-minute invitations to my guests about the location change. My guests were close friends, my parents, and a couple of Eric's friends who had nothing to do with Martha. So she remained blissfully unaware that she would be stood up at her son's wedding. On the wedding day, we switched off our phones and soaked ourselves in enjoying our big day. The wedding turned out to be perfect, exactly how we wanted it, intimate and beautiful. No interference from Martha. No unnecessary crowd, just love and happiness. When we turned our phones back on the next day, there were over 50 missed calls, texts, and voicemails from Martha and some of the relatives she had invited, all fuming, demanding answers. Martha even came looking for us at our apartment, but we were off for our wedding and then for our honeymoon. Surprisingly, she directed the new wedding planner to me, asking for the payments. I was like, "Did I hire you?" She did. Ask her to pay. I don't know you. She wanted to alter my plans so she could bear it. I enjoyed my honeymoon in peace, knowing Martha had got the lesson of her life. She would have a hard time justifying her guests about her absence and then dealing with the financial burden of paying the planner. A week later, when we returned, she showed up at our door weeping. "How could you do this to me? What did I do wrong that I was ghosted this way?" Eric let her in. She started to rant. It was so humiliating. Everyone questioned me. I kept telling them that you both are stuck somewhere. I made everyone wait until someone showed me your wedding pictures on Instagram. It was so painful to bear everyone's judgmental eyes. It was my dream to see my son get married. The funny part was she said all this to me. I was like, "What did you expect me to do? You hijacked my wedding. It didn't feel like it was ours." She defended herself that she didn't mean it and was just helping me. She got passive-aggressive, blaming me for ruining everything. Eric stood up for me and said, "You screwed it up. Why did you poke your nose into everything? Why didn't you back off when she asked you to?" She stared at him in disbelief. Waterworks started again in an attempt to guilt-trip Eric. "I waited all my life for you, dreaming of seeing you get married. How could you let her ruin it?" Eric didn't hesitate and snapped at her. "How ungrateful are you? It's because of my wife that I even gave you a chance, and you're cornering her. And you know what? I'm done. You don't deserve a chance. I'm cutting you off again." That was the moment she realized she had lost him again. She thought she would walk all over me or turn Eric against me. Seriously, how ungrateful can people be? The same woman was pleading and begging me to let her into her son's life. And when I helped her, she turned vile towards me. She changed her demeanor and apologized for her words. She begged Eric not to cut her off and that she would forgive me for everything and we could start fresh. I was like, "I'm not holding my breath for your forgiveness. Neither do I want you in our life." She sobbed and pleaded for forgiveness, assuring us that she would never cross the line again. But Eric showed her the door. She wanted control, and she got exactly what she deserved. A cold, hard reality check. Eric snapping and cutting her off again was the perfect ending because she really thought she had you both wrapped around her finger. Update 2. Posting on this thread because it is somewhat related. Not sure if the people who engaged on my previous 2 posts are still here because it's more than 2 years now. Turns out that Eric and his sister were affair babies. Yes, Martha did cheat on her husband, and none of her children were his. It's devastating for Eric. He's getting an existential crisis. After 34 years, he gets to know that the man whom he called dad was not his actual father, and the man whom he hated all his life was the one. Yes, her husband's friend was the father of both her kids. It happened so that Eric was deeply hurt that his father George didn't even bother to attend our wedding. A week back, he was visiting his town and couldn't stop shelling up at his dad's and confronting him. Initially, he dodged it, saying he was busy and stuff like that. But when Eric pushed it, he spilled the beans. When George started dating his second wife, she insisted on getting a DNA test on Eric, and he came out to be no match. He became sure that none of his children were his, even without running the test on his daughter. He didn't confront Martha because what's the point? Instead, he stopped the child support for his daughter. When Martha demanded, he shoved the DNA report in her face, and she backed off. He was conflicted about whether or not to cut off Eric because he was Eric's world. He hated his mother, and if he knew the truth at that age, he would be ruined. He would have no one to turn to. So, he remained quiet and funded his education, but unknowingly got emotionally distant due to obvious reasons. Eric came home shattered. He said everything looks blurry to him. He's questioning his existence and how everything turned out to be. I suggested he confront Martha and force her to confess the truth because half the information was driving him crazy. If he has to move on, he needs closure. I called up Martha and asked her to come over. She got excited that we were giving her another chance. She thanked me and sent good wishes my way. I was like, save it for later. Eric was disgusted at her presence. She panicked on seeing his condition. I narrated everything. Instead of feeling humiliated or guilty, her exact expression was, "That son of a witch opened his mouth." She was angry that George exposed her truth. I was like, instead of cursing him, you should be ashamed of what you did. Eric lashed out at her. He called her names which no son should call his mother, but I don't blame him. Not only did she cheat and destroy everything, she kept everyone in the dark and pretended to be innocent, someone who was being misunderstood and wronged. How conveniently she told everyone that it was a misunderstanding just because George chose to silently move on with his life. She painted herself as the victim. Even now, she was trying to turn it around on him, saying his second wife manipulated him into thinking this way. Eric reached out for the report and threw it in her way. She broke down, saying George was an emotionally cold person and never made her feel loved. He was always so busy with his work that he barely had time for family. So in times of loneliness, his friend John supported her and they got close. But John was not ready to lead his family, wife and kids, and accept Martha and her kids. So she pinned the children on George while enjoying a secret life with John. The day Eric caught him inside his parents' bedroom, John vanished. He cut off all contact with Martha. He feared that George would inform his wife about the truth. And George did, but not immediately. By then, he was able to move his family out to another state, citing job transfer. His wife still divorced him, and he moved out of the country in order to escape his child support in case the complete truth came out. No one has any clue about him, not that we care. Eric doesn't want to do anything with that man, who refuses to accept him and runs away like a coward. He berated Martha and literally chased her out of the house, telling her to never show her face again. He paid extra bucks to get an immediate appointment with his therapist because he badly needed one. I'm trying to be present and available for him in every way I could. He doesn't have a grudge for George, as he still chose to fund his education despite the truth. But he was hurt that he'd hid it until now. He could have informed Eric once he was an adult. Eric feels betrayed, and I'm afraid he might have trust issues in every relationship. I just hope his murky past doesn't affect our marriage. P.S. All the names used in this post are made up. Martha's reaction is infuriating, but unfortunately not surprising. Instead of taking accountability, she immediately shifted the blame, trying to paint herself as the victim once again. The fact that her response was anger at being exposed rather than remorse for what she did speaks volumes about her character. I'm really glad Eric has you in his corner. Just remind him that he's not alone in this. He still has you, and that's something solid he can hold on to in the middle of all this chaos. What would you do?
What would you do in this situation? Let us know in the comments. If this story had you on the edge of your seat, smash that like button and subscribe for more jaw-dropping family drama, shocking betrayals, and the revenge stories you won't believe.